Right, we're going to have a look at the helicopter feeder rig for specialist fishing, predominantly on still waters. Can be done on rivers, but predominantly still waters. Now I'm going to say it's a simple rig because everybody says they're simple rigs when they're really complicated, because the most simple rig is just a line and a hook, as we all know. So it's a simple rig, but this one is relatively simple. Now let's have a close look. I've got it built up, but I'm going to take it apart and show you how we make it. So let's have a close-up look at this. On the bench, I'm going to point at a few things. Line, obviously. 3mm silicone tubing. A swivel with the quick release. A short anti-tangle sleeve, tail rubber thingy. And a bungee rig. Now let's break it apart. All right. Simple as that. Off she comes. And I'm going to cut the line completely and take it all apart and show you what it does. So the rig consists predominantly of 3 parts. These are always awkward to undo, but I'll get there eventually. There we go. Right. Bungee rig. Okay. I've got my inspection glasses on so I can see. I've got some little bit of silicone over the top just to cover up the knots and neaten them up. But this is power gum. And this one's the Drennan 8-pound power gum. And they also do a 14 if you think you need a lot more. And I tie one of these clips on. They do various sizes. This one's just got a small one of those like type clips, and that allows you to put on the feeder or the lead. And I'm just going to slide that down, and at the other end is a size 11 ring swivel, just tied on, nothing fancy. Now the reason why I do these, it's 2 parts. One is because it is flexy. And when Mr. Fish is shaking his head around and this thing is swinging underneath with the weight of a feeder on, it's got less chance of bumping out the hook. So it just takes those shock bits away. That's number one. And number 2 is it gives you a gap between your hook link and your feeder for anti-tangle properties. So that's pretty simple to make. Get yourself a swivel, get yourself a clip, some power gum, tie it all together. If you fancy putting on some silicone tubing, make sure that's on first. Right, so that one is done. And what do we do with the actual mechanism that holds your hook link on? Again, it's just 3mm silicone tubing. And what this does is this acts as the bolt rig without needing to use any grip stops on the line or anything. So it's very safe, good for anti-tangle and all that kind of jazz. So, right, imagine this is the line coming off your rod. We've got our line. First thing I do is I take my quick chain swivel, it's a size 8. I cut a little bit of silicone at the angle just to make it easier to go on. And then I slide it over and pull it on roughly to the midpoint. I'll slide it down later on, but just at the midpoint. And then line off the rod. Through she goes. All right, I'm going to put this down on the bench so it's easier to film. And tie on my bungee shock absorbing feeder link. I'm just going to do a few overhand knots not overhand knots, just a few twists, a little bit wet, and just pull it out. That's only because I always give it a little bit of wet. Trim that off just because you always do. Right, there she is. Now the bolt rig, this is the clever part about the helicopter bolt rig system that's super safe, is all you got to do is push this over the swivel. Now, I like to push it quite a way down the barrel to give it extra bolt. Now, there is still rotation there, but in flight it won't rotate because there's just too much resistance at it. But it's an unnecessary thing for the helicoptering thing to actually happen. It still won't tangle. So that is it in that system. Let me just clip on a lead. That is tight, that is. Oh, that is tight. Okay. There's a lead. There's your... And if you get a take against your rod tip, then you're self-hooking, because these are done on the bottom tight, as we know. Helicopter feeder fishing for roach, tench, bream, etc. If it goes this way, you're against the lead. If it goes any way, you know, it's got a lot of self-hooking. And if I just hold that down and watch, you can just pull. It's hardly any pressure, and it pings off. So it's super safe, but has enough there to create the bolt. I'm just going to reassemble. Okay. Now, hook link goes on there, usual standard things, whatever arrangement you've got on the end here of your hook link. I haven't bothered with the hook link. We can use our imagination for that. But this is the important bit. It's a little tail rubber. And if you're wanting the bait to be popped up, if you're using imitation pop-up maggots or something like spring fishing for tench, on goes your hook link. But you put this on the hook link first of all, and then slide that over. It stops the hook link coming off. And I give it a proper good push and get it on. And it's got one hell of a boom effect. I'm gonna just put a bit of tension into this, and I'm gonna go a little bit more vertical, and she booms out quite nicely. So she holds herself out from the lead or feeder and gives you all this sort of standoffy anti-tangle facilities that these offer. Now, this taily rubber, I'm just going to make that a little bit neater. If you want it pop up, make sure you, when you get one of those, put it in a, chuck it in the bucket with some water, whatever. And if it floats, it'll be perfect, because if you've got buoyant maggots, this will already be standing up and your buoyant maggots will be doing its thing off here. But if you want the thing nailed on the deck with a pellet or whatever, or worms or something like that, buy the tungsten impregnated ones. So that sticks down. Otherwise, you could end up with it sort of trying to float up. So that's the only technical point. If you're on the deck, tungsten impregnated. If you're popping up, just use the normal plastic ones. These pieces, these silicone pieces, do float, but because they're under tension, it makes no difference. It won't float. It's just going to sit there off the bottom. And that, in essence, is... Take my glasses off. A helicopter feeder rig for lake fishing, tench, bream, roach, etc. Very popular with the roach anglers, especially when you've got a little feeder attached. And you can clip on any feeder you want, blah, blah, blah. And again, super safe. If the line breaks, it can just slide up completely, or the swivel comes off the silicone, and it creates the bolt. So it's just clever. I think so. So it is a simple rig. Once you've got those ones, and I keep several of those in my box. So give that a whirl, go catch some specimen roach, and enjoy your fishing.